Today we read from the letter to the Galatians, chapter 5, verses 18 to 26. I like a list, don't you? Things to do, or shopping to buy. And you can tick them off as you accomplish the tasks or load the shopping trolley. It does give a sense of achievement. If I'm feeling particularly frustrated or overwhelmed at demands of stuff to do, I might even put a couple of things on the list that I've already done, so that I can motivate myself with some ticks. All right, it's cheating, but it might mean the list is not itself quite so overwhelming. Paul gives us two lists in this passage. That's nice. It means that we can have a clear idea of how much of his teaching we have absorbed and learnt. Unfortunately, once we start to examine the items on the lists, we find it may not be quite so easy to tick them off as we thought. First of all, it's interesting what he includes in the first list. These are the things to avoid, or the things to leave behind when we embark on the Christian life. The works of the flesh, he calls them, or the ways in which humans often mess up their own and others' lives. Our shorthand for this is sin. Some sound very serious. Fornication, licentiousness. We may not be entirely certain exactly what Paul meant by those terms, but they're clearly about sexual morality. And then look what comes. There's anger, envy, quarrels, jealousy. I'm not quite so confident about ticking those off. Yes, this one's sorted out. Never do that. I would like to think those failings are eradicated from my life, but in all honesty, I know that wouldn't be true. It's particularly hard to control one's thoughts and never allow any of that negative stuff to creep in. Honestly, it's trying to do that a lot of the time. Oh dear, not doing very well with the first list. Shall we skip on and have a look at the next one? Paul calls this list the fruits of the Spirit. In other words, the outward signs, the evidence that we have the Holy Spirit within us. 9 qualities: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. How many of these can we tick off confidently? Yes, do that all the time. Yes, always like that. Well, since we're being honest here, and after all, God sees our inner thoughts and hearts, so honesty is really the only way forward. My pen is still hovering above the paper. I haven't ticked any off yet. Sometimes I can be like that, or like some of them. They're beautiful qualities, but all the time? All of them? So these lists are pretty challenging. Just like Jesus' teaching in the Sermon on the Mount was challenging, giving us a high bar to aim for, so high that perhaps no one can ever get to congratulate themselves on living up to it, on achieving it. Maybe that's the idea. Maybe the sin of complacency or pride or smugness lies in wait for anyone who thinks they have ticked it all off. I think this is very good for us, especially because we often have a tendency to be critical of others and to be a little bit more blind or forgiving about our own faults and weaknesses. First, take the plank out of your own eye, said Jesus, then you'll see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. So instead of noticing and tutting over someone else's speck, we need to take that honest look at ourselves. All this comes within the Christian doctrine of forgiveness and redemption. We are all forgiven sinners. We all mess up on a regular basis, and that included Paul himself, of course. But the Holy Spirit can work with someone who knows themselves to be that forgiven sinner. And the Spirit can begin to grow in us those fruits. bit by bit, day by day, as we constantly come back to be forgiven and to make a new start on our list.